Hey there, welcome back to the Money Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Nadine Zamot, and today we are going to continue on with this month's theme of money misconceptions that keep us stuck. Last week, we dove into debt, emotional spending, and the American dream, among other topics. And this week, we are going to be talking about money mindset and how it's doing the money work or becoming better at money. We need to go a little bit deeper than money mindset work. So, you've probably heard about the importance of shifting your mindset to create wealth and abundance. While mindset work is valuable, it's not always enough, especially if our money issues come from deeper emotional wounds or from ancestral trauma. Joining me today on the Money Healing Podcast is Meenadchi, and together we'll be exploring how addressing trauma and our nervous system is essential for true money healing. But before we jump in, a quick heads up or like a trigger warning or a disclaimer that this episode may actually touch on sensitive topics such as emotional, physical, and financial abuse. Um, so please just make sure that you take care of yourself and only listen to it if you are in the right space emotionally, mentally, and physically. Without further ado, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Money Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Nadine Zamot, and today, I'm giddy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm so excited about our guest today, and oh my god, she is absolutely fabulous and fantastic. I love her work, and I am so excited to present and, introduce you all to Meenadchi. Meenadchi is a somatic healing practitioner and part of my beloved Trauma of Money community. I'm part of that community, and that's how we connected. So, as I said, she's a somatic healing practitioner. She is also an author and a TEDx speaker, and she's a communications expert whose work centers around social change and embodied transformation. Meenadchi also uses a blend of family constellation therapy and nonviolent communication. And if you're like, what is that? I'm right there with you, and we are going to dive into that. I have a lot of questions, and I'm very excited about this chat. I don't know if you've noticed from my tone of voice, I'm just speaking very quickly and very high pitched. Because Meenadchi and I have a lot of similar interests and a lot of intersections in our bodies of work. They intersect in many ways. And as you all know, maybe you're new here, welcome. Maybe you are a loyal listener of the Money Healing Podcast. Welcome back. Here we take a holistic look at finances, and we take a holistic look at our relationship with money. And my passion personally is about inner child healing and working with the body and the nervous system to heal past trauma and to start welcoming in money as a facilitator or even as a friend that can come along on this journey of life with us. Because as we all know, money is an amplifier. It will amplify unresolved wounding that is in your emotions or your nervous system. And on the other hand, it can also amplify our values and our purpose. Today, we are going to go a step deeper than I've ever been, to be honest, on my journey with money. And I've been journeying with money for many years because of my own history of financial abuse and scarcity and all that stuff. But I've never gone as deep as Meenadchi is going to take us today, because she talks about inherited money trauma and the concept of ancestral money trauma, which is something I never dove into for myself. So we're going to look at how our lineage and our ancestors have impacted how we relate to money. And welcome, Meenadchi. I'm just so excited.
Me too, Nadine.
We're like little kids here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you happened upon this work.
So my people are from Sri Lanka. I'm
Mhm.
Sri Lankan Tamil. And there was a war back home, a war for liberation for my people to have our own state. And in 2002, there was a ceasefire. And I was home from college, and my amma, who's my mother, she said, there's this woman who's doing a fundraiser to go back home and to teach nonviolent communication. And both amma and I were like, we don't know what that thing is, but we got to find out who that woman is. So we went, and it was a wonderful experience, like for so many different reasons. One, just getting tools like that wound up changing my relationship with my amma, because, most of us aren't taught how to talk to it. Right? We learn how to talk, but we aren't taught how to communicate.
Oh my God, yes.
So we got this tool, my amma and I, that really transformed our relationship. And then Jayanti Siva who's the teacher. I call her Jayanti Akka, which means big sister. Both amma and I traveled home with her many times to teach nonviolent communication amongst our people and to navigate all the things that are culturally relevant and appropriate. So I would say that that's where it started, and that was about 20 some years ago. And then through that journey, I was introduced to family constellation therapy, which is a somatic form of ancestral healing.
Wow.
And most of us know, right? Most of us who've been to therapy at least once, we know that hurt people hurt people. We know that the things that happen to us are theoretically not about us. Family constellation therapy was the first modality that helped me move that principle from my brain into my body. And my body finally got it. I was like, oh, there's context to this behavior, right? Like, without going into the specifics or details of my Appa's behavior in the home, right? I come from a lineage where there is domestic violence on both sides, and there's context to this behavior. We can connect the dots, and also there's like a sense of, when you really know that something isn't about you, there's so much spaciousness, there's like a decrease in urgency, the body relaxes. So constellation work was so beautiful in terms of the gifts it gave there. And then to take it a step further, I think we all have beliefs about money, right? Like, I'm not worthy of having more money than this amount. I have to work hard, et cetera,
If I take
all these
this,
things.
if I have some, I'm
Yes,
taking it. And yeah,
correct.
absolutely. Yeah.
All that stuff. And I started doing family constellation work with money. And it was this whole nervous system reset of like, oh, there is a way to be in relationship with money that is not about gunk, that is not about trauma. I'm not hurting people when I set prices for my services or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way to be with this tool as a resource that can pour into me and then pour into others.
Oh my God. Do you know what? I'm wondering. I often sit with the energy of money, and I sit with my guides, and we kind of have this like conversation of what is it? What is money? And the conclusion that I got to, which I recorded in one of my very early episodes, was that money is just a way for us to further heal our trauma, because it's, as I said earlier, it's an amplifier, right? But the funny thing is that we're all, conditioned to be obsessed with it. But guess what? None of us take it with us when we go. So what is this? It's a joke, even though it's not funny when you don't have it.
Totally not funny when you
Totally
do
not
have it.
fun when you don't have it. But it's like this like, I don't understand how we got here as a society or as a culture or a community of where we put money before people, before animals, before trees. It makes me want to throw up sometimes when I think about it too much, And what you were saying is that sometimes money chooses us, Not as in chooses to come to us, but chooses us to work with it as a tool for further healing.
Here's what I think. I think any framing we have that is supportive to us, fuck yes to that framing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? too. There was something. Um, about the why did this happen kind of thing. In my family constellation work, it's really interesting working with things like systemic oppression,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, like, for example, white supremacy is this really horrible, awful thing that exists in the world, right? That terrorizes people. When I've done constellation work with white supremacy, I've literally seen white supremacy run from the room, like, it's so
Oh my
terrified.
goodness.
And I often, one of the questions that I kind of like don't have an answer to is, like, I don't know where systems of oppression came from. Like, what happened, kind of like,
Mm.
regardless of what your spiritual beliefs are, but like, what happened in the fabric of humanity that allowed these systems to emerge, right? And I don't know. But one thing I will tell you is that energy of extraction, that energy of sucking, that energy of hoarding, that energy of taking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna go in a kind of
Go
roundabout
wherever you
thing.
want to go. I'm here.
Okay. So one of my teachers, love her, Sarah Payton. She is tremendous. She often references the work of Jaak Panksepp. I never pronounce his name right. Jaak Panksepp, who was a neuroscientist and researcher.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things he found is that within the brain, there we have different circuitries in the brain, and one of our circuits is wired to look for care, to look for nourishment,
Mm-hmm.
nurturance,
Mm-hmm.
etc.
Makes sense.
When that circuit is overactive, in other words, when a brain, a human body, is looking for care but not receiving care, it goes into a kind of type of overdrive where it turns into predatory aggression, where it turns into grabbing, where it
Takes.
turns, right? Because you're like looking, you need that thing so
Mm-hmm.
much. Whatever the energy is of extraction related to money, it's not actually about money, right? Of why do we extract from the earth? Why do we extract from the other? It's something else, whatever that thing is
Yeah,
that happened to us sort of like collectively on like our collective
I
brain,
get it.
whatever
Yeah.
happened there is that, but it's not about money itself.
No, money is definitely a manifestation of something deeper that happened to us as a collective. I see where you're going with this, and I totally agree. I mean, as an individual, I see this with myself. If I don't receive, I take, right? And that's with everyone.
Yeah,
You know, if we don't receive what we need, we go and take it. If we don't
yeah,
have money to buy groceries, we go and take the groceries, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's just normal human, just being human. And I love how you're taking it way back to what happened to us. And I think this is just an open
Mm.
question of really what happened to us. And anyway, it's just, I'm sure people always wonder that if they're working or doing the work that we do of like money healing, which is a very big topic. But I'm really curious about family constellation work. Tell me more about that. I've never heard of it.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
such a lovely modality. So it's a modality for ancestral healing. It's
Hmm.
the idea that if we have a pattern in our life, like something we keep feeling stuck, or we
Hmm.
keep trying to fix a thing, but the thing doesn't change, right? It's the idea that it's not actually related to our own behavior or our own actions necessarily, but that it can be connected to an ancestral trauma that we're still carrying in our nervous system.
Hmm.
And if we acknowledge, witness, hold the ancestral trauma, then that dynamic can shift and release from the body. So, a simple
Hmm.
example, right, which is like very common, we oftentimes repeat relationship patterns.
Yeah, yes. Same relationship, different face. Hmm. Yeah.
Right? And a lot of times, right, that's because our nervous system is wired to seek safety or to seek comfort, to seek familiarity. And you don't always realize that's why I keep choosing the same thing over and over
No.
again. But if we can do some kind of like gentle clearing, gentle healing for the many wounds that we might be carrying,
Hmm.
things just stop feeling so heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a very horrible divorce 10 years ago, and that was when I was like, "Oh, I am just repeating my same dynamics as my dad. How
Mm,
cute."
mm,
And then after
mm,
that, I realized that I was repeating the dynamics between me and my father with money. So I left
mm,
my
mhm,
father. I packed my bags. I haven't seen him in 20 years, but guess
mm,
what? Or maybe more. No, 20 years. But guess what? my relationship with him remained alive until I started doing money
Yeah.
work, right? So just
Yeah.
to your point.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when we look at the online world or looking at the personal development world, we see the the dreaded two words that I absolutely despise, which is money mindset. I cannot. I think like if I can create a whole podcast about how anti money mindset work I am,
Mm-hmm.
I would not be nice.
Mm-hmm.
But from your perspective, what is the difference between money mindset work, the work that we do, which is
Mm-hmm.
essentially trauma healing, and the work that you do
Mm-hmm.
specifically, which is ancestral healing?
Okay, I love this question. And it's so different. And to be clear, I love money mindset work. It's a vibe, it's a little thing, let's do it, right?
No.
But it is not the end all be all. And it is even I would even say it's not I don't know if it's a good entry. I'm not going to say that. Whatever entry point you want, your entry point is
Yeah,
yours.
okay, all right.
Yeah. Here's what I will say. Money mindset work tends to really be from the neck up, and this idea that we can individually think our way out of a circumstance, right? And it places such a heavy, um, honestly, like blame on
Ooh,
an individual.
shame, absolutely
It
as
can
well.
make us, yeah,
Yeah,
such shame and such a bypassing of our lived experiences. Like, no, this shit is hard. It is not easy. I am lying to myself if I say that it is easy,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
With that said, two things. One, in order, what was I going to say? In order for something, what am I trying to, where am I going to, hang on, please. Let me see if I can catch this
That's
thought.
fine.
Um, I'm going to let that thought go. I'm going to shift to
It'll
another
come
one.
back to us.
Uh-huh. The difference between money mindset work and ancestral healing work is that with ancestral healing work, it's not about the things your brain is like putting together
Mhm.
and believing about money. It's going into your body and looking
Mhm.
into what information is there that your nervous system is storing in relationship to money.
Mhm.
Super fun fact, like super geeky, sciencey fun fact, right? For all of us, we all existed in our grandmother's belly. So, like me, for example, when my amama, my
Mhm.
grandmother, was pregnant with my amma, so my amma was in her belly,
Yeah.
um, the egg that became me was formed.
Mhm.
Which means that the lived experience of my amama, my grandmother, the daily stressors, the things she was facing, the financial difficulties she was navigating, was impacting her nervous system, which was impacting my mother's nervous system, which impacts my nervous system.
Yeah.
So, ancestral healing is really looking at what information is there in the lineage about how our genes have been shaped, what we find stressful, and how we respond to stress oriented situations.
Beautiful. I love that explanation. So, um, the reason why I get so heated up about this whole thing with money mindset is because, to your point, I got very, very like I got into a shame cycle with it because, yeah, it
Mm.
really it burnt me. It really burnt me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I came into the money world through, so I'll just give you a background. Like, my dad is a money tyrant. So I think until this day, he
Mm.
has these little notebooks where he writes down every cent. Oh, yeah. He writes down every cent that he ever spent, and then he used to manipulate us with money. And it was a lot of financial trauma happening at home, and emotional and physical abuse.
Yeah.
So that is where I came from. So I decided when I was young that, you know what? If money is so powerful, I'm going to work with money. If money is so powerful, I'm going to
Mm.
be good at money, air
Mm.
quotations, by hoarding it, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So I came from that mindset. I came from the attitude of like holding on to money is being good with money. And then
Yeah.
that got really challenged when I started my business, because initially my business was about
Mm.
teaching people how to be, quote unquote, again, good with money, which is, according to
Mm.
the traditional financial world, means save it, do not spend it, needs
Yeah.
versus wants. And I was coming from that mentality
Yes.
until I was like, this is not working. This is actually really stunting my growth. So the other part of the side of the pendulum was money mindset work. And
Mm.
I was going through that, and my brain was like, "Ha ha, this is not working. Your shit is way deeper than that." And
Mm-hmm.
I went
Yeah.
through like a whole year of feeling ashamed because of how scarce and unworthy I was, and how I wasn't able to shift that through repeating affirmations.
Ah.
And that took me down the rabbit hole of going further and further and further into inner child healing, nervous system work, somatic, and all
Mm.
that stuff. So that's my personal background. But I
Yeah.
really want to get your own personal definition of what it means to be
Yeah.
good with money.
Ooh, you know what I think it means to be good with money?
Hmm.
And I think it means to be in flow with money,
Oh
to
yeah.
be unafraid of giving, to
Yes.
be unafraid of spending, to be
Yes.
unafraid of receiving, to be unafraid of having.
Hmm.
It's actually one of our Tom
I
colleagues,
love that.
Neely.
Hmm.
She brought up in class one day. The Hebrew word for money and the Hebrew word for blood are they have the same root. They're
No
connected, dam and
way. Oh
damim.
my God. Okay.
And she brought up the point, the similarity of how when blood is in healthy circulation,
Hmm.
the body is healthy. When blood is clogged, when it is pent up, when it's not able to move
Hmm.
as it needs to, illness emerges from the body. And the exact same is true in society. When money is allowed to move to wherever we are in, like, whatever part of the social ecosystem that needs money, that needs that support, that needs that resource,
Hmm.
we have collective healing and well-being. And when we are afraid of spending, when we are afraid of giving, when we clog, or when we deplete ourselves, right? When we kind of self sabotage, self sacrifice, and don't let us have the financial resources we need,
Hmm.
illness emerges. So
Yeah.
that's my definition of being good with
I love
money.
that so much. For me, I think it feels like money becoming my friend, which is a very cute way of, saying what you said. I'm not
Yeah.
afraid of it.
I like what you said. I liked
I'm not afraid of
it.
it. It's my buddy. It comes to me on adventures, whether it
Yes.
means I'm going to get a
Yes.
new certification or go back to school
Uh-huh.
or go on a holiday or buy a house. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, what are we doing now? All right. I'm going to come with you. How much do you want? How much of me do you want?
Hmm. Yes. 150%. Saturday night Scrabble dates with money. Yes.
I like that. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, my personal story is riddled with scarcity, as I shared earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gone very far, and I wonder if we can, like, go into that, if that's okay with you. Now you're
I
in
would be
your face;
so,
it's
yeah,
very
I would be
excited.
so delighted.
Awesome.
Yes.
Um,
Hmm.
so I am Iraqi Jordanian. My mom is Iraqi, and my father is Jordanian Lebanese. And I don't know. I really, honestly, I don't know where my scarcity or his scarcity came from, because
Mm.
I don't think so. I feel like I've received or gotten some kind of emotional wounding from my mom because she's a human parent, not because, she was
Mhm.
intentionally doing anything. But then the confusion for me comes from my father, because as much compassionate work that I do, like, I've done so much work around that myself, but I'm like, you're just pure evil. My dad is just
Mm.
this pure evil person. And
Ooh.
yeah, we keep waiting for him to soften as he ages, but he's getting worse.
Yeah.
So if
Mm.
someone comes to you with this of like, I'm not sure what to do with this, if I love what you said earlier in our session, in our little chat, about like, doing family constellation work gave you a lot of language, which gave you spaciousness,
Yeah.
that it's not about you. And I know as a 42-year-old that it's not about me, but I have a part of
Yeah.
me, a very young part of me, that's like, dad hates me,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
what's your take on all this?
So one A, is it okay if I ask some questions?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then B, would you like to do would it feel fun or would it feel weird to do a little bit of work like in this episode?
I think it will be very fun, if that's okay with
Okay.
you.
Yes, it is definitely okay with me. For the listeners, I'll try and explain what I'm doing as we do it.
Mhm.
And I will also say, we're probably just going to do a small piece, almost like a taster
Yeah.
ice cream scoop. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. All right. So some questions. What do you know about the physical, literal land? Like, where did your dad? What was the land like? What was the environment like when your dad was a kid?
So straight away, there's a part of me that's like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. This is too scary. So just presencing that part. And I would imagine that it was in the 60s in Jordan. Um, and it would be, like arid, dry environment. I don't
Uh-huh.
even know what his parents, my grandparents, were doing. I knew that my grandma is an immigrant from Lebanon. I think his dad, my grandfather, is a native, a Jordanian native, but I don't know. I don't know much. That's all I know, I believe.
Okay.
And I know he has a lot of sisters and brothers.
Okay. It is okay to not know much. That actually is a good amount of information already.
Wow. Okay.
Um, and so it sounds like you know that he had a mom and dad, but it sounds like you never met them.
Oh, I have met them. His
Oh, you
yeah.
have. Okay,
No,
okay,
I
okay,
don't remember my grandfather. I remember him via photos, but I had a good relationship with my grandma. Yeah,
okay. Can you tell me a little bit about what you know of them and how they were with each other?
my grandparents.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing them together. I know that they both existed. My grandfather passed away when I was maybe 4 or 5. I
Uh-huh.
knew that he worked in customs. I don't know. I know my
Uh-huh.
grandma was a very caring nurse. I don't know how she related to my grandfather. Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay. And it sounds like the desire on the table is for your little to feel
Yeah.
to really be able to touch in a little bit more about this. His behavior is not about me, and this shit is not about me.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the time. If we were in session, and we kind of are, I would just say, you're welcome to grab some water. You can stretch. There's no
Okay.
any of those
I've got
things.
tissue. I've got water.
Okay. Thank you for letting me do this work with you. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to ask you to get some objects,
Hmm.
and they can be regular objects. Like I would just use this chapstick on my table. I have a hair tie. And I'm going to ask you to get 3 objects. Um, one, one for your dad,
Hmm.
one for your grandmother, and I think one for your dad, one for your grandmother, and one for you.
Okay. All
And
right.
then just kind of put those 3 objects kind of on the table space in front of you.
Okay. So that's me.
Uh-huh.
This empty chapstick is my dad.
Okay.
That's what he gets. And my grandma
Uh-huh.
gets the full chapstick. I've got 2
Okay,
chapsticks. Cool.
great.
Yeah.
Super. Uh-huh. I don't need to see anything. Can you tell me just physically how they are oriented and laid out with each other?
So the one that is representing me is right in front of me. The other 2, the ones representing my dad and grandma, are kind of on my left side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, let's start with the representative for you.
Hmm.
Will you touch that object, leaving it where it is? Just go ahead and touch that object, and then tell me the body sensations you notice.
Really intimate, like a familiar feeling in my chest. Like a little like giddy, cheeky feeling. It's like, yeah, that's me. Yeah. It's like familiar and it's cute. I know it. And
Uh-huh.
it kind of reminds me of when I was a kid. I haven't changed much. I'm just cheeky and
Mm.
playful. So,
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to have you go ahead and let go of this one, and you can kind of wiggle out if you need to.
okay.
And then I'm going to have you touch, again, leaving it where it is, touch the representative for your dad. So touch that empty chapstick. And then tell me the body sensations you start to notice.
Anger, disgust. I want to fling it across the room and just like snare my teeth at it. It just makes me so freaking angry touching this thing. And it
Okay.
feels horrible in my body.
Okay. You can let go. You can have water. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
that
make
was
sounds to
gross.
shake it out.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oof. Whew. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. When you're ready, I'm going to ask you to touch the representative for your grandma and do the same thing of tell me the body sensations you notice.
Aw, sweet grandma. I feel nostalgic. I feel a certain innocence. Oh, I feel a certain innocence that is in the past that is never going to come back. You know, I was a kid when I would sleep over at her place with my cousin, and she would make us food, and it's just she's part of me, or a part of my life, or a phase of my life that you know, that I'm never going to get back. And it was beautiful, but also there is a part of me that's angry at her because she surely, as a mother, she should have known about her son, my dad. Why didn't she do
Uh,
anything about it? You know, like
uh,
where were the adults? Where was his family?
uh,
Where was his mom to just tell him to quit abusing us?
uh. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to have you let go of this one. Same thing. You can kind of like shake off or move.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Gonna take us through probably 3 more
Okay.
steps. Okay. The first one, I'm gonna ask you to touch one hand on each, the representatives for your grandma and for your dad. And I'm gonna ask the question, how do these two feel towards each other? And just tell me what body sensations you notice when you touch those two.
A lot of yearning. I'm feeling a
Uh-huh.
lot of
Okay.
yearning from my dad towards my grandma.
Uh-huh.
And I'm feeling a lot of like, I love you, but there's a lot of you from my grandma towards my
Uh-huh.
dad. Like this,
Yeah, yeah.
it's just a lot for her, I think. I don't know. This is maybe me just making excuses, but that's how I feel. But I'm
Uh-huh.
feeling this kind of like desperation of for approval from my dad, and just like a emotionally orphaned. That's these are the words that are coming from me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And your grandmother is feeling emotionally orphaned, or your
My
dad is
dad
feeling
is,
emotional, or your dad
yeah.
is? Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to have you let go of these two.
Mhm. I'm kind of my I have tears streaming down my face just for the
Mhm.
listeners that can't see me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here. Yeah,
And I think I'll also say for the listeners, like you also can have some water. You also can stretch and move
it's
your
true.
body.
This
Like
is
this is,
probably not the
yeah.
funnest episode for people.
So I think I'm going to do 2 more things.
Okay.
One, will you please bring in one more object? Actually, no, hang on. Okay, I'm going to change. I'm going to have you touch the representatives for your grandma and for your dad again.
Okay.
I'm going to give you some sentences to say. I only want you to say them if they feel true.
Okay.
Okay. From the representative, so this sentence you're going to say out loud, and it's going to be as if it's going from your dad to your grandma.
Okay.
For this one to say, I needed to be held so much more than you were able to hold me.
I needed to be held so much more than you were able to hold me.
And I needed to be held so deeply.
And I needed to be held so deeply.
And then first, just going to ask, how did it feel to say that?
It felt really true.
Okay. I'm going to have the representative for your grandma. I'm going to give some words, and I'm also going to say, I'm going to give the words in English. You are welcome to translate them into Arabic and like, right?
Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
So for your grandma to say to your dad something along the lines of, my sweet baby boy, that is so true.
My sweet baby boy, that is true.
Mm-hmm. And how did that feel to say?
This is a part of me that's like, too late, you know?
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
it does feel like it's ringing truth. That's probably,
Okay.
regardless of whether she meant it or not, that's what he wanted to hear.
I'm going to give your dad another sentence to say now.
Okay.
For him to say to his mother, your grandmother, um, in the absence of being held, I hurt so many people around me.
Oh my god, this is very big. Oh shit, hang on a sec. In the absence of being held, I hurt so many people around me.
I don't want you to blame me, but I want you to hold this truth with me. Or I don't want to blame you, but I want you to hold this truth with me.
I don't want to blame you, but I want you to hold this truth with me.
Mm-hmm. And then if you are with the hand that's on the representative for your grandma, does it feel like there's a yes, like I will hold this with you?
There's a bit of a confusion feeling from her. It's like, why? Really? I didn't know all that.
Uh-huh. Is it okay for her to say, if I give her the sentence, I'm so confused, but I will be here with you? Does that feel true?
Absolutely. I am so
Please say that.
confused, but I will be here with you.
Okay. Gonna have you pause right now. And do any of the pieces in the constellation want to move? Do they want to change where they are?
Yeah.
Yeah, will you please move them?
My grandma wants to go closer to my dad, and my dad
Uh-huh.
is willing to go a little bit closer to my grandma, but they're not touching yet.
Okay. I'm going to give you just a moment to stretch, wiggle if you need to, because I'm gonna take us a little bit more,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Whew.
Whew. Okay. Um, a question before we keep going. Would you like to bring money into this constellation?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Please bring in one representative for money.
Okay.
Okay. Can you tell me what everything looks like now?
Okay, so money is between the representative of me, and
Uh-huh.
it's between next to me on the left, and it's between me and my dad and grandma.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm going to have you touch. If you touch the representative for money, what body sensations do you notice?
Joy?
Great. That's correct. um, can you, will you touch the representative for your dad and the representative for money?
Oh gosh, ich. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I'm going to give your dad another sentence to say. To say to money, I used you to put up walls between me and everybody around me.
I used you to put up walls between me and everybody around me.
And I used you when I was hurting the people who were around me and the people who were around you.
And I used you to hurt the people that are around me and the people that are around you.
And how does the representative of money feel hearing those words?
It's like you abused me.
Aha.
Isn't that weird? Money's like, you abused me.
Uh-huh.
And you hold me hostage. And I wanted to
Uh-huh.
help these people. I wanted to help your kids, but you just
Mm.
stifled me. And you hurt them by me, and I didn't want to hurt anyone.
Uh-huh. Can I give it? I'm going to give a sentence for your dad to say,
Mm-hmm.
for him to say, all of that is true.
All of that is true.
And I'm so grateful that they get to rediscover a different version of you.
All of that is true, and I'm so grateful that they get to discover a different version of you.
Please be a blessing to my baby girl, to my baby girls.
Please be a blessing to my baby girls and my baby boy, my brother.
Uh-huh. I'm going to pause here. Do any of the pieces want to move right now?
Mani wants to move towards me.
Okay, will you let it do so?
Yes.
And then I'm going to have you touch the representative for you, and I'm going to ask this one a question.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, are you willing to, or do you want to hear anything from the representative of your dad and your grandma, or do you just want them to stay where they are?
Oh, she wants to hear from them. She's like, they
Okay,
owe
great.
me.
Great. I'm gonna have you
She's
touch
sassy.
with one hand, I'll have you touch the other two chapsticks, the
Got it.
representatives. Yep. First question, not how do you feel towards them? How do those two representatives feel towards you?
They both feel like we did our best for you. What do you keep complaining
Okay.
about?
Okay. Okay, please hold. I'm going to tap in really quick and get some words together. Uh-huh. Okay. I'm going to give some sentences for them to say.
Okay.
For them to say, it is so true that we just don't fucking get it.
It is so true that we don't just fucking get it.
And we wish we could say that we do, but somehow we're just not there yet.
And we wish we could say that we do, but somehow we're not just there yet.
We can say that it is a blessing to see you become who you are meant to be.
There is like this doubt that came up of like, I don't think my dad wants.
Don't say it.
I don't
Yeah.
think my dad wants.
Okay.
Thinks what I'm doing
No.
is a blessing.
Okay. Yeah.
At all.
Don't lie. Does it feel true for your dad to say, and so not from your grandma, but just from your dad, to say, I'm too caught up in my shit to see you?
Yeah. So just like to go back a little bit, I feel like my grandma is proud of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I feel her
Okay.
with me all the time, but I do feel like it is truer for my dad to say, I am just too caught up in my shit to see you.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you. We'll do your dad, and then I might work us around somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to say that line from your dad of, I'm too caught up in my shit to see you.
Yeah. I am too caught up in my shit to see you.
Does it feel true for him to say, but that doesn't mean I don't want you to be seen?
No, it doesn't.
No. Okay.
He doesn't want me to be seen. He actually told me that.
I'm going to ask you, does it feel true, the representative for your grandma? Is there willingness or urge or desire from this one to slap your dad upside the head?
How did you know?
Okay, great.
Back off.
Yes.
Leave your girl
Will you
alone.
please, yes, energetically have her do that?
Yep. Okay. Done.
Done. Okay. How does the representative for you feel?
Fuck yes! Finally. Oh my
All
god, so
right.
satisfying.
Okay. I'm going to have you let go of the representatives for your grandma and for your dad and just touch the representatives for you and money.
Okay.
How do these two feel towards each other right
Oh,
now?
so good. Towards each other, so
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Does this feel like can you have them say to each other, we love, or I love, however you want to put the word in, we love what we're creating with each other?
Yeah. We are so happy together and we love what we're creating together. We are, helping other inner children feel good about you, and we're changing the world, and it's fucking exciting. Yeah.
Mhm. And one more, I think this one is gonna come from the representative of money to you, for money to say they will catch up when they can.
They will catch up when they can. Yeah.
And in the meantime, you're gonna stop holding so much of their shit.
And in the meantime, you're going to stop holding so much of their shit.
And then for the representative for you to say, okay.
Okay. Ah.
I'm going to do a couple checks and then I'm going to take us through a release.
Okay.
First, does this feel like a good place to
Fuck
pause this piece
yeah.
of work?
Yeah, it
All
feels so
right.
good.
Okay. I'm actually going to have you and everybody who's listening, because it affects us
Yeah.
all. So if you're listening, please also repeat after me. So for everybody to say, what we have witnessed
What we have witnessed.
is both held and released.
What we have witnessed is both held and released.
And then now just for Nadine to say, I keep what is mine.
I keep what is mine.
I release what is not.
I release what is not.
And then to your objects, I release you from your roles. You can go back to being paper clips and cups and chapstick.
I release you all from your roles.
Okay. And then everybody, including listeners, give your body a brush down, shake it off, wiggle it off.
Ooh, oh my God, that was fucking awesome. Oh my goodness. How did you feel doing that?
Well, I felt, first, I'm just so grateful. Thank you for letting me hold this space for you.
Thank
And like,
you.
it's so vulnerable and like, it's so, thank you. And, to share it, like, there's so many things to say about that. And the answer of how I felt, I think, when we're doing the thing we're meant to be doing, we can kind of go into a flow state of just like, I'm just moving.
Yeah.
And so that's what it feels like for me when I'm working.
I know what you mean. Yeah, that's how it feels like when you're with the person guiding them energetically. There's like something happening in between the souls, and so gosh, that was so good. I feel really good afterwards, and I'm excited that this was recorded for the podcast, because had we done it personally, I'll be like, oh, I want everybody to witness this awesomeness. But as a money nerd and a money geek that has gone through all the stuff, this is just so exciting for me. It's like a new thing that I never even thought about. So this is wonderful. Yeah. And, throughout my work, I always look at how, or the role that our repressed or unprocessed emotions play in our financial lives. And I wanted to kind of ask you, what is the role of unprocessed emotions and traumas from our ancestors? How can that trickle and affect our financial lives, and what can we do about that?
A really simple, answer is first there's a difference between the anxiety we feel when we genuinely do not have enough in the bank.
Absolutely.
And right? If we don't have food, if we don't have housing, that's not trauma.
That's not trauma.
Fucking
No.
reality.
Thank you. Yes.
But if you have money in the bank, if you have conventional stability, if you have eaten every day for the last 365 days and are still feeling anxious, right? That's money trauma. And I just have had so many clients who felt so much anxiety that's disproportionate to their current, right? So in terms of like, what can we do about that? I think a really simple thing to do, actually, because a lot of what trauma is, it's like, because trauma lives in the shadows and trauma actually heals, right? When it's brought out and when it's given space. A really simple thing that I would invite people to do, two simple things. One, draw your family lineage, just like draw your family tree as much as is possible.
Nice. Yeah.
And just look at it honestly and check off the ones that had money that you think were stressed about money, or like what anxiety, draw the map of, and think sometimes that can feel overwhelming to have to face trauma in a particular way, which is also why I think it's helpful to work with a practitioner, right? Like I offer one-to-one and
Mhm.
also do healing money trauma programs. And
Yes, same.
there's so, but
Mhm.
like do things with a
Oh yeah.
practitioner so that you can feel
Right?
safer. But
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about this in a second after
okay,
you're
okay,
done
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
very important,
But
right?
it is, yes. But a simple thing you can do is just actually look at your family tree, look at what it is that you're holding. And if you don't know your family, if you're adopted or if you're estranged, anything like that, it is okay. You can just write grandparent number one, grandparent number two,
Mhm.
and just touch that writing,
Mhm.
right? And just write down the body sensations, the information that's coming. Because one of the things about ancestral healing in this particular modality, if you have a fucking nervous system, which you do,
That, yeah.
the information is there. This is not channeling or mediumship, right? Even when I was facilitating and coming up with those sentences were coming because my nervous system was listening to your
Yeah.
nervous system and it
Mhm.
was tapping in. So do your family tree and just see what's present. And then the other exercise that I'll offer is go outside, go someplace that you love, touch a tree that you love, be with a body of water that you love, like a
Mhm.
something, Kara Kovacs is a coach and facilitator who I am getting to know and just deeply respecting the work that she does. But one of the things she says is that money itself is like the
Mhm.
coin is like a material
Yeah,
thing that
it's
doesn't
an
really exist,
element.
a figment of our
Mhm.
imagine, right? But abundance is part of our natural way of
Mhm.
being. So just touch a tree, touch some aspect of like nature that is demonstrates abundance, and ask that element, that energy, that entity, how can I feel safer with you, and how can I trust you more?
Yeah.
How can I believe that you're with me?
I love that so much. It's really parallel to the work that I do as well, because once we
Yeah.
close off to all abundance, right, we can't see any
Yeah.
abundance. When we're like, I'm not
Right.
abundant with money, it means we're closing off the abundance that comes from the blue sky, the abundance that comes from the soil, from the tree.
Yes.
So to open yourself up for abundance, even if you're not financially lucrative at the moment, it can totally begin with touching these elements, touching nature, because we are, I know it sounds cliche, but we are inherently abundant. But our
Yeah.
wounding, whether it's our personal childhood wound or the work that you do, which is from our ancestors and our lineage, that is what's is between what we are inherently, abundant, and what is coming to us. It's kind of
Yeah.
we block it, right? But
Yeah.
when we start touching these things, as simple as it sounds, that makes a massive difference. That's how I started unlocking my own, scarcity and all of that. When I noticed that abundance is not just through money; it's just one form of
Yeah.
abundance.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
really, really loved hanging out with you, and I'm really grateful that we got to
Yeah.
do that, and that I'm sure everybody's very impressed and want to know more about you. And where can people find you?
Yeah, the places to find me are very simple. My website, which is Meenadchi.com, and then my Instagram, which is with.meenadchi. And then, depending obviously on when this comes
Yeah.
out, my Healing Money Trauma program
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
open. So, folks are welcome. I'm so excited to do good work with good people so that we can really just let the gunk out and let the good in.
Fuck yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
One thing that I just want to circle back to before we end is how practitioners need practitioners. That's very important,
Yes.
because the part of my brain that has all the knowledge and all the practices and all that is actually offline when I'm triggered.
Yeah.
Right? That's why,
Right.
even if you are someone
Right.
who is a practitioner, a healer, a coach, blah, 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 you
Yeah.
need another regulated nervous system to work with who
Yes.
looks at money from this perspective. Please run away from people that sell you things that is, this is my formula and what worked with me. What we want is people
Yeah.
that will lead you back to you, to your true essence.
Always, always. Listen. I have a newsletter all prepped. This is the text of the newsletter. It says nobody knows anything. Like literally nobody knows anything. But a good teacher will bring you back to what you already know.
Yes.
That's it.
Do not follow gurus. You are your guru, right? That's what I always say. Run away from someone who sells you a formula or this is what worked for me. I talk about what worked for me, but it's about what works for you and your inner wisdom. And so much of our inner wisdom becomes blocked when we are working with trauma. But ultimately, it's about going back to that, what IFS would call the self in capital S, or I work with money archetypes. It's the magician archetype, that inner wisdom. So I just want to, leave that on that note. And if you have anything to add, please do, Meenadchi.
I'm just so delighted to be in your company. Thank you for this. This has been a very nourishing and I think fulfilling time. Yeah, nice. Thank you.
I love that. I love the word fulfilling. It's one of my favorite words. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope you loved this episode. And please go and connect with Meenadchi in the various ways that she shared. And I will see you all next week on the Money Healing Podcast. Take care. Bye for now.